And to see on your card. Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam. We welcome all of the viewers who are joining with us on this special show on today's presentation. We would like to first ask all of the viewers, what does an 800-year-old Hindu institution and a Hindu guru of the modern day have in common?
They're both public enemy number one.
At least according to the media. Today, we will be presenting a masterclass on how to deploy a persecution. This script is so predictable, it's boring. And the latest act is playing out in Dharmasthala, one of Hinduism's most ancient, most contributing institutions located in Karnataka, India.
This sacred site, more than 800 years old, has more than 7.5 million visitors every year. 15,000 devotees visit this temple every single day.
And yet today it is seeing one of the worst conspiracies. It is just a script playing again and again. Let's break down the playbook. First, you need a scandal, you need a headline, but you don't need a victim.
Take the persecution against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. 15 years, not a single victim has been proven. And in fact, the same victim who filed a false accusation in the US has been fined $500,000 along with her co-conspirator.
And the same charges were completely thrown out.
And let's take a look at Dharmasthala. Not a single victim has actually come forward. The complaint was filed by a third party, just as in the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Not a single piece of evidence has been found. 17 excavations have happened, and not a single dead body has been found as presented by the false complainant.
And not only that, let's talk about planted evidence. It's so obvious that it's almost painful and insulting to people who are educated in their field. Who is behind this? Who is scripting these lines?
Who is funding this?
Let's take it to the next step of persecution. Dehumanization. Paint an incarnation who is descended on planet Earth out of his most compassion as a criminal, dehumanizing the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as a God-man, and criminalizing every single act, attacking him with legal battles. All of these. Meanwhile, today, the Hegde family of Dharmasthala is today painted as monsters who are conspiring against humanity. This stage of dehumanization is crucial in their persecution in order to delegitimize all of the contribution that they're doing for humanity for centuries, all of the knowledge that they're giving completely free of cost, all of the institutions they establish for proliferating and spreading peace to all humankind, and in order to destroy their mission.
And today we will be understanding who is really behind this. We'll be looking at why, what is the reason that such a sacred institution, that the incarnation of Paramashivam himself is being attacked in the same systematic way.
So this begs the question to all of the viewers that we want you to understand today. Who is behind this continuous delegitimization of Hindu gurus and Hindu institutions? Why are they continuously attacking the ancient heritage and the most valuable assets that Hinduism has?
And who is really funding this?
This isn't justice. This isn't about fighting for our rights. It is a coordinated war against Hinduism.
Now, let us enter into what has been happening over the past 2 months in the sacred institution of Dharmasthala.
For weeks, a dark cloud of sensationalism has been hanging over the Dharmasthala, this sacred town in Karnataka. It is a revered 800-year-old Hindu institution, a model ecosystem.
For 21 generations, this family, the Hegde family, a Jain family, has upheld the Dharma of this institution and has facilitated both Shaivite rituals with Madhva, Brahmin, Vaishnavite priests and run by Jains. It is the perfect institution of harmony, peace, and coexistence.
However, in August of 2025, this entire institution was thrust into a horrifying conspiracy, which has now been completely exposed. But yet, justice in its pure definition has not been served. We have not seen the same media conglomerates declare that this conspiracy has been exposed, even though there has been numerous pieces of evidences.
So what actually happened? In July of this year, an ex-sanitation worker from 15 years ago claimed that Dharmasthala was the location of mass burials of both women and children, that there have been excruciating crimes in this sacred institution, rape, murder, mass burials.
And yet, his case, even though he was not even related at the time, was taken up. The government had executed investigations in what he was saying and what his claims that he was making, and investigated 17 different claimed burial sites,
excavated and dug out, only to find no evidence of his claims. Not a single female or child's body was found in any of these 17 sites. In one specific site, this masked accuser planted evidence where he claims that he buried a body 15 years ago, where the bones are simply laying out in the open fields. Is this even plausible that after 15 years that these bones have just suddenly emerged from the ground? The story doesn't end there. This whole scenario was escalated when 4 YouTubers associated with certain banned institutions in this country, in India, escalated the situation by claiming that this story, this false accusation, was in fact real, and spreading this false news, not just in the media, but even in social media, claiming that this sacred institution was in fact the site of mass burials of horrific crimes for decades. Now, this same YouTuber, as we can see in this headlines, has in fact fabricated, using AI generated images, fabricated visuals of these mass burials, and has in fact been arrested for the same crime. Now, the accuser, by the name of Chinnaya, has come forward to, just in the past few days, has come forward to claim that yes, in fact, what his story was in fact a lie. And he was arrested for perjury. Now let's actually look into the details of his case and what fake story he has pulled, and what parallels we can see in other Hindu persecutions against other Hindu institutions, Hindu gurus, and many other Hindu
Chinnaya's confession was shocking, but knowing the script of hundreds of years of persecution, we shouldn't find this so dramatic or shocking. It shows proof of monetary inducement, when he revealed that he was offered money to tell lies about this ancient heritage, this 800-year-old Hindu institution.
And he has come forward, despite not revealing who's actually behind this, has come forward and clearly stated that he has been coached about what to say, how to say, when to say,
and how to handle the questions. Influencers of each and every one of the deep state have influenced and made threatened his life in order to make him say these lies and push an investigation. A specialized team was launched in order to investigate all of the so-called burial sites that Chinnaya had initially claimed was where he had taken all of the bodies of women and children. However, after these burial sites were investigated with high technology, with different types of probes, each and every single one came out with zero evidence for his claims. While in a few sites there were skeletons found, none of these were from women. All of them were from men. Well, and the Chinnaya had produced even a skull and said that this was one of the people that he had buried. However, it was shown after forensic tests that this skull was not even buried or died in the last 10 to 15 years, which he had claimed, but a male body from 30 years ago. This completely had destroyed Chinnaya's claims. But where is this in the media? How come when he had first given his shocking lies about the Dharmasthala, so many people had picked it up. Media chains had gone 24/7 covering this defamatory campaign against Dharmasthala. But when his lies are shown and exposed, not a single media channel dares to open up the truth about what happened.
And it's actually, in fact, only the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism from the beginning has stood with Dharmasthala, has voiced out against this clear persecution, and has clearly made a stand that this is nothing but a persecution, that Dharmasthala is a sacred institution, and has voiced out his solidarity and support. And we can see this with the continuous support that Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has offered through both devotees, social media, and constant guidance. And continuously, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has voiced out against all types of Hindu persecutions this sacred institution of Dharmasthala has been, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has had a relationship with this sacred institution of Dharmasthala for decades. And yet we can see
in a significant show of spiritual solidarity. In a significant show of spiritual solidarity, KAILASA has expressed unwavering support for Dr. D. Virendra Hegdeji and Shri Kshetra Dharmasthala. Representatives from KAILASA were graciously received by Dr. Hegdeji at the sacred institution. The representatives conveyed respects and solidarity on behalf of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam and KAILASA. As a gesture of recognition and support, KAILASA's delegation presented the sacred KAILASA nation flag and the United States of KAILASA book, representing the foundational wisdom invested in establishing the KAILASA nation. Dr. Hegdeji received these offerings with great reverence, carefully perused the USK book, and offered respectful salutations to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam's sacred image before performing Namaskaram. When representatives conveyed KAILASA's availability to provide support during recent challenges, Dr. Hegdeji expressed gratitude and stated with confidence that through the divine blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, 80% of current difficulties have already been resolved. KAILASA particularly acknowledges the exemplary Annadana Seva and countless dharmic activities conducted at Shri Kshetra Dharmasthala. KAILASA reaffirms its unwavering commitment to supporting all dharmic institutions that serve humanity with the same dedication and dharmic values demonstrated by Shri Kshetra Dharmasthala. KAILASA stands with Dharmasthala. Join us now. Share with all.
And it's for decades, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has had a relationship with the Institute of Dharmasthala and with the family of the Hegde's. As you can see here, from 2006, we have photographic evidence of this relationship and this bond. This sacred institution and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism have a shared connection, both serving in the Karnataka region. And it is actually, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has shared that Dharmasthala is the model institution for all Karnataka Hindu gurus. And we've seen, whether it's with Sri Balagangadhara Swami or Sri Shivapuri Swami, their institutions have all been modeled after Dharmasthala, whether it's the Annadan, whether it's the Gurukul education system, whether it's the medical services, other free services, the development services, all for Hindu Dharma. And this sacred institution for more than 800 years has provided services for the Hindu population across Karnataka. And for this reason, this institution has become the model. Whether you see Sri Shivapuri Swami, Sri Balagangadhara Swami, their institutions, their services have all been modeled after this sacred institution of Dharmasthala.
Dharmasthala, having today, is a renowned institution with over 7.5 million visitors every single year. Dharmasthala even offers different types of service to the society, institutions, schools, hospitals, where all kinds of free services continue to go on. It is this institution that is attacked today, just as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who has contributed so much to humanity with thousands of hours, hundreds of thousands of hours of indigenous spiritual knowledge, and millions being fed with free, nutritious meals every single day. It is these institutions that are being targeted by deep state elements in order to destroy the mission and completely undermine Hinduism itself. And yet, Hindus all over the world are still turning a blind eye to what's going on.
It is this criminal negligence which has allowed dozens, hundreds of Hindu gurus, Hindu institutions to collapse with this onslaught of persecution, while Hindus remain silent, despite the constant contributions of Hindu gurus. As we can see here, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has served over 1.5 billion meals, continuously serving humanity, whether it's through healing, medical services, education. Similarly, Dharmasthala has continuously served humanity over the last 800 years through various institutions, over 50 education institutions, medical care across the state. Numerous people, numerous devotees, Hindus across the state have benefited through the services of Dharmasthala. Dharmasthala even offers justice from the Hegde family, as has been the tradition from the beginning. Any civil cases, guidance, or anything that is any citizen of Dharmasthala requires is directly addressed by the Hegde family, the head of the Hegde family, Dr. in current times, Dr. Virendra Hegde. For 21 generations, they've upheld this sacred responsibility and have doled out justice for the people of Dharmasthala. It is the model ecosystem, truly a Hindu kingdom, which has survived centuries. Similarly, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has continuously been guiding humanity, serving humanity, providing numerous services, education, free food, free meals, free healthcare for millions of people across the globe. And it is these sacred institutions who continuously serve with Hindu names, with Hindu principles that are attacked. And Hindus still remain silent. Why is this? Why Hindus do not voice out against these this persecution against these sacred institutions, against Hindu gurus?
Today, we want to ask you basic, fundamental questions that each and every one of us has to understand, has to go in depth and familiarize ourselves with in order to navigate our lives and stand strongly for Hindus, Hindu gurus, and ancient Hindu heritage. Today, we want to introduce all of
our panel today, who will dissect exactly what is happening and understand really why Hindu institutions are attacked, why Hindu gurus are attacked, why Hindus are staying silent. And we've seen this throughout history, where Hindus, Hindu gurus, Hindu institutions are repeatedly attacked. Whether it was Swami Lakshmananda in 2008, who was brutally murdered in his ashram. For what? For standing for Hinduism, for fighting against illegal conversion. He was brutally gunned down by 30 men. This is not an isolated case. This is a constant, continuous, systematic persecution against Hindus. Why is it that Hindus are attacked? Why is it that Hindu gurus are attacked? Why is it that Hindu institutions are continuously attacked? Yet Hindus across the globe remain silent.
And the only voice for Hinduism today, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, is undergoing attack after attack and not even allowed to express the persecution going on.
Now, I invite our panel to share, to understand, to dig out and really dissect what is really happening here.
Yes, I'd like to jump in here. Thank you so much.
Hindus?
Yes, thank you so much, Purnapriya and Sadashivapriya. I think for many of our viewers, especially if they're not from India, and they just hear the headlines and they see the main points from this whole narrative, In some ways, it's shocking, but it's also will be quite laughable. You have a masked man coming from the jungle saying that there are various burial grounds where all of these horrible things have happened. And just based on those salacious, unbelievable allegations, the whole machinery, the whole the authorities of the state of Karnataka were mobilized to an all-out investigation to find out, to prove what this man is saying. And most places, you would not even be, in most countries, you would not even be able to submit some kind of complaint without revealing your identity, without actually having some corroborating evidence, with having some sort of credibility to what you're saying. But in this situation, there was zero credibility to what this masked man was telling the authorities. But despite that, the authorities were put into action to do an all-out investigation and terrorize the Dharmasthala institution and the devotees of the Dharmasthala institution and the people who visit this. Millions of people visit the Dharmasthala temple, and this is an effort to basically not just attack Dharmasthala institution, but Hinduism and what it represents. Now, you asked a very important question, why? But before we even get into the why, I think we should look at the how. It is just too easy to attack a Hindu institution these days. You don't need anything to actually fight to take down a Hindu institution. You just need to make a claim, and the whole media will follow it. It'll become national news. There'll be an investigation. The police will get involved, and the media will pick it up and just tear it apart. And this is what, we currently experience with this whole event, but it's literally like deja vu for those part of the, KAILASA ecosystems all around the world who were there when the persecution against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism happened back in 2010, where in a very uncanny, very almost, I can say, we can take the script of Dharmasthala, remove a few words, and put in what happened in 2010 against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and is literally like a playbook of how to take down a Hindu guru, how to take down a Hindu institution. And we can start with one fact. In the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, or SPH or Swamiji as we call, they filed a case on Swamiji. It started in the state of Tamil Nadu, and it got transferred to the state of Karnataka. Usually when you file a complaint, what do you have? You have a victim, right? In this case, there was not a single victim in that complaint. And what's worse, there wasn't even a prima facie case, which basically means there was no allegation in that FIR, the first information report. But yet, they were hunting down Swamiji, who was peacefully attending the Kumbh Mela in 2010. They shut down the monasteries. They froze bank accounts. They raided the monasteries. They starved our sannyasi brothers and sisters. They arrested Swamiji. They didn't even have a victim. Now you tell me, in which country, in which justice system are you able to arrest someone when you don't even have a victim and you don't even have a charge? Later on, we'll get to the later on, but the allegations that Swamiji was accused of were not even in the complaint, but they were all over the media. And that's what we're seeing in the Dharmasthala. There's so much to it. There's so many parallels. We can probably do like many programs on the parallels, but just this one point, if we can explore it a little bit more, I think it'll bring to light what's really happening and how out of hand it is. And it's been like this for decades now. What happened to the Swamiji it happened over 15 years ago, but we're still seeing it happen today.
And unfortunately,
And
if
I
you
do
see,
want to add one point here. See, the conspirators against Dharmasthala, they obviously know there's no evidence, right? And they obviously know if they dig up the ground 16 sites, they will not find anything. But the thing is, once the is made, once all these Hinduphobic media channels, they've, started telling all these lies, defaming Dharmasthala. And then what? That is their main purpose. Because after that, no media is going to cover that no evidence has been found, and which is exactly what has been done in the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam Swamiji. There were non-stop defamatory content online, on published articles as well, over 17,000 of defamatory online content, and more than 25,000 print articles defaming Swamiji. But after no evidence has been found, no media covered that. And no media covered the exoneration of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So it's very sad that this is allowed to happen only to Hindus. It is happening only to Hindus, and it is allowed to happen. So it is very important for us Hindus to see this trend. And this is not just a trend in the modern day. This has been ongoing for centuries. Back in the days, maybe there was no media, social media and whatnot, but exactly this is what the colonizers were doing, defaming our Hindu gurus, the Brahmins, turning ourselves against each other. So we do need to see the trend that these anti-Hindu-phobic media is doing, because their only goal is to destroy Hinduism, to destroy Sanatan Hindu Dharma.
but really the question begs, why is it that Hindus are still staying silent in all of this? Why is it Hindus are still not standing up and fighting back in any other religion, in any other community? If their gurus, their leaders are attacked, if their institutions are attacked, there's an all-out response from their community. Why is it that Hindus are not having this type of response? Why is it that Hindus, other than Swamiji, other than the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, are staying silent in all of this?
Definitely. And what is interesting to see is that, this is a baseless, ridiculous allegation. And based on a useless allegation by an ex-sanitation worker. And after 17 burial grounds, or 17 location sites, so-called burial grounds by this individual, what sort of investigation can happen? Right? After the first find anything. Second place, you don't find anything. Third place, I'm real so-called investigation continued for 17 locations. This is definitely a targeted attack. And as we all see, this is not an isolated incident. We can see in the history, not only on various gurus, various Hindu spiritual leaders, that this attack happens. These attacks also happen on the Hindu temples. If you just take the example of, the temples in South India, whether you take the Srivilliputturu temple, which became a subject of controversy a few years back, and then you take the Sabarimala temple, which became, they create these controversies to scare people away. When you create a controversy, people are scared to go to that place again. And that's actually what the anti-Hindu, the Hinduphobic media is expecting. I mean, how ridiculous this is. There is a baseless news. That's it. A baseless group where you put in all your forces and money spent to do an investigation. What kind of an investigation? It goes on for 17 locations to find nothing, just to scare Hindus away. And as rightly said, why no Hindus are speaking up? It is the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism that has showed the solidarity with the Dharmasthala, showing the support from day one, that we are here, the only Hindu voice standing up for Hindus throughout the history of various gurus that were attacked, various Hindu spiritual leaders that were attacked. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, despite going through the extreme attack that, all put together, that he has gone through after reviving a Hindu nation, standing up for the Hindu rights of all the Hindu leaders around the world.
Exactly.
Yes, Ma, you're actually bringing up a very good point. And that, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so that makes me really wonder, who is funding this? Who is funding 17 different probes that are coming up with the same result, that there's zero evidence going for your case? That also makes me parallels during the illegal, horrifying arrest of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in 2012. 600 armed policemen were on site during the arrest in order to do what? When they were trying to detain a peaceful sannyasi, someone who has lived his whole life to contribute to the world. Who is really funding all of these investigations, all of these
the state machinery, which is continuously, relentlessly attacking? Where is this funding coming from? And who is really behind all of this? I mean, honestly, if you look at it, 17 excavations you were sharing, Ma. 17 excavations. Similarly, in 2010, not a single victim came forward. In fact, in the media, the police were crying out, please, any victim that is ready to dispose against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, they're ready to pay that victim. In the media, in the newspapers, they're publishing this. They're not able to find a single victim still. After publicly announcing, begging practically for victims, for 50 days, 50 plus days, they detained illegally the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, searching for victims. What kind of a joke is this?
And the evidence that they do find, or they do make up, they plant the evidence, all of this goes to insult the academics, the whole justice system that is behind it, because they're literally trying to pose as something as evidence where there's still no victim. There's still it's quite obvious that the evidence has been planted. Every single thing is an insult to the justice system of.
And yes, here you can see the police chief is publicly putting his face out there, actually with his own name, announcing, begging for a victim to come forward. And finally, after 50 plus days, they're still not able to find a victim. Finally, the judge, the judicial system, finally reprimands the police and actually forces them to release the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism from illegal detainment. Similarly, in this case, after 17 excavations, not a single piece of evidence is found, not a single dead body of a woman or a child, as this accuser claims that thousands of people have been buried, that he himself was the one who buried. There are mass burials going on, and rape, and
actually,
all kinds of atrocious
as you say that, the FIR of in Swamiji's case in 2010 is exactly the same. This Lenin Karupin fellow, he basically said there are women being raped the women being abused in the Adinam. Just generally women. Where are those women? Not a single woman came forward. For literally months, like you said, they were advertising on Facebook, they were advertising in the newspapers, they were advertising all over social media, and not a single person came over, despite saying they would actually pay for victims to their travel expenses to come make statements. And finally, when, like you said, when the case was about to be dismissed, because the judge openly said in court, why are you harassing an innocent person when you have no evidence? You should drop this case. And the whole case was about to be dismissed. But then came forth the masked man, this unnamed, anonymous complainant called Amla under a fake name, under a pseudonym, no identification, saying that she was a victim. This is literally after 6 months. So it is shocking that this happened in 2010, but it's even more shocking and scary that it's happening again 15 years later, where anyone can say anything about a Hindu guru, a Hindu institution, and it sticks. Whereas in the US, this same false victim made the exact same claims to the Ann Arbor police, the police department in the state of Michigan, and they didn't even register the case. They said there's nothing here. There's no evidence, no reason to even register the case in the US. And that's how a normal justice system works. But that same individual was able to string all her false allegations, all her lies, and keep that case going. So this is something that's it's a huge travesty of justice, where anyone can say anything and try to destroy a person's life, a mission, and all of the people who are entrusting that mission and trying to bring the whole thing down. Unfortunately, because we have Swamiji, and Swamiji is beyond all of this, he withstood this and showed us how to withstand this persecution and expand and be successful. And he created the great Hindu nation of the United States of KAILASA, and is contributing to the world despite this persecution. But that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make what happened correct. It doesn't make it just. And unless Hindus speak up and Hindus say, no, this is wrong, it will happen again. It will happen to another institution, maybe not in Karnataka, it may happen in another state. But the fact is, it's not an attack on Dharmasthala. It's not an attack on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as an individual. It is an attack on what the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism represents, which is Hinduism itself. Same way, Dharmasthala is not an attack only on Dharmasthala, it's what they represent. A Hindu ecosystem, a successful Hindu ecosystem thriving. So we need to look deeper, and the questions you're raising are really important for us Hindus to answer. And unless we get involved in the facts and we don't gloss over, we will not even feel the pain of what's happening. So I'm really thanking you for asking all of these important questions.
And actually, that's really a good point. If anyone just opens up and reads a little bit about either of these cases, whether it's the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism or the case of Dharmasthala, it's very clear, it's almost laughable that this is a fake case. It's a false case, whether the fact that there's no victim, there's no evidence, they're able to spin this story, and the media, the state machinery, everything is able to be flung around on the case of just one hearsay by one person who is not even claiming themselves as a victim. How is it? It's unimaginable. Anyone who reads a little bit into these cases will clearly see it is fake. It is a persecution. It is using the state machinery to attack Hindu institutions, to attack Hindu gurus. But still, why is it that Hindus are still staying silent? Why is it that this is allowed to happen and Hindus are not able to speak out? Why Hindus are not able to actually voice their support openly, publicly? What is it that Hindus are so ashamed of? Or what is it that is holding them back? Why are Hindus so criminally negligent?
I would like to invite all of the viewers right now, please comment your views in the comment section down below. And we'd love to see, we have to have the discussion about why we're not acting. What are the steps that we need to take? And who other than the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, is really standing for Hinduism and giving a voice to Hindus?
Not just a voice, but actually a spine to Hindus. Because Hindus, unfortunately, due to repeated attacks, colonization, persecution over the last 1,000 years, have lost their spine, have lost their voice, have lost their essence. And unfortunately, it is only through fortunately, I should say, it is only through the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's continuous contributions and continuous awakening that we've even understood what has been happening to Hindus over the last 1,000 years and how Hindus have just been complacent. What has happened in the past to our ancestors and how we've been attacked, how we've been brutalized is unimaginable. But we cannot continue to let that happen to our future generations. We cannot allow this same pattern of persecution to continue. How is it that Hindu institutions and Hindu gurus will stay alive if this is how Hindus as a community, Hindus as a people are going to stay silent?
I also have a question for all of the panelists and the viewers, if you would like to comment in the comment section down below. Why is it that the anti-Hindu media, the Hinduphobic elements, are able to attack ancient Hindu institutions like Dharmasthala? Dharmasthala is an 800-year-old institution. It's not a modern day institution or organization. It has literally been there for hundreds of years, 800 years.
Run by the same family for 21 generations. And similarly, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has upheld multiple Sampradayas, which have been in existence from ancient times for thousands of years.
If you see Madurai, if you see the Tonde Mandalam Adinam,
whether you see Suryangi, Sarvanyapita, all of these institutions have the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as their successors, these institutions which are thousands of years old, which have thousands of years of recorded history, in fact. And yet, these institutions which have stood the test of time are now being attacked and brutally dehumanized and left to ruins. It's only because of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's constant, continuous efforts, contributions, and voice for these institutions, for Hindu Sampradayas, for Hindu gurus, that even these institutions or any Hindu gurus, Hindu institutions are able to even have a voice or have a space. Efforts that.
Yes. Oh, no, sorry, please continue.
No, ma'am, you can continue.
Yes. See, I just want to actually add to what Nithyananda was saying. See, it's not that we need to wait and see what's going to happen in other states if we don't act now to what's happening in Karnataka, to Dharmasthala. It is already happening in other states, and not only in other states, but in all the countries globally. If we just look at the statistics, let's just look at the statistics of Hindus in Pakistan. You know, just very recently, in 1941, the population of Hindus in Pakistan was 27%. And today, the statistics as per 2023 is just 2.1. And Bangladesh, in just 1951, the population of Hindus was 22%, and now it's just less than 8%. So already the population of Hindus is declining globally. And in fact, in more than 100 countries, in fact, in over 170 countries, Hindus are minorities. And in over 66 countries, Hindus is not even recognized as a religion. I mean, can you believe it? We are 2 billion strong globally, but 66 countries do not recognize Hinduism as a religion. And in a country where Hindus are supposed to be majority, we are being attacked left and right, and nobody's speaking about it. And the media is just allowed to, just propagate any lies. So, and just to give some more statistics to see how alarming the situation of Hindus is today. Hindus used to have 56 nations, Hindu nations. We used to have over 6 million square kilometers of sovereign land, but today zero. Other than Kailasa today, which has been revived by Swamiji, by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, there's no other country in the world that has Hinduism as the state religion. Kailasa is the only Hindu country, and Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, was the first to speak out against the defamation, persecution on Dharmasthala.
Exactly.
So,
And yes, go ahead, please finish.
no, please go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add, Vijayapuriya used the word attack, and the Purnapriya and Sadashivapuriya also using the word attack. I just wanted to add one word to that. To answer Purnapriya's question, it's a systematic attack. They're not just picking any, like you said, what you're asking, why these ancient Hindu institutions, why are they being attacked? They're being targeted. It's a systematic attack to attack the very core of our Hindu institutions all over India. And they tried to do it with Dharmasthala. It did not last, but it still is part of the playbook to go against Hinduism. Same way, in 2010, Swamiji is literally, he's in his 20s. If you guys, we could go flashback, you see those pictures. Swamiji is just a boy, and he's literally attracting one satsang in 2009, 2010, would literally attract 30,000 people waiting in line for Swamiji's blessings, because he was transforming the lives of people and spreading rapidly, which is good for people, is good for humanity, but it's not good for those who are anti-Hindu, those who do not want Hinduism to be a majority, those who don't want Hinduism to thrive, those who don't want to see Hindu institutions coming up all over the place. And Swamiji did this in what we know as an atheist state in Tamil Nadu, which is completely anti-Hindu, but he did that despite the rhetoric of atheism in that state, and was successful in inspiring millions to practice the lifestyle of Hinduism. See, in Hinduism, we don't believe in conversion, so that's not even an option. But being inspired to live the lifestyle of a Hindu is what Swamiji was doing day in and day out, whether it's the articles in the newspapers in Tamil Nadu, whether it's being on various television shows in Karnataka, or being all over social media. He was reaching Hindus and people interested in Hinduism wherever they are. That's why, just like these institutions, these major institutions like Dharmasthala are targeted, Swamiji was targeted because of what he represents for Hindus and Hinduism worldwide.
Yes.
So if, looking back in retrospect, we always say, maybe it's always easier to look back, but it does make me wonder, if at that time, if justice had happened, if the proper investigation had happened, if actually you looked at the evidences, if the judiciary, the police actually did what they're trained to do, what the public expects them to do, if there were some checks and balances on the media, and if the public, more than any of this, if the public understood that what they're being fed is lies, that they are victims of those lies, and they stood up and said, no, this is not right. How can you just say anything without any evidence and bring down a guru, bring down an institution? We would not be having what happened to Dharmasthala today.
And actually, I want to add one more thing while you were sharing. This is a targeted attack against Hindus, because Swamiji is reaching Hindus across the globe, has such a huge reach, has such a wide reach. But it's not just that much. It's actually one step deeper. How Swamiji is awakening people, how the Dharmasthala, over all these Hindu institutions, how effective they are at spreading Hinduism, the core principles of Hinduism, and the awakening humanity to the reality, to the truth. That is what makes Hinduism so dangerous. For all of these deep state elements, they have a vested interest in keeping the common masses asleep. And it is only because Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, has been continuously reaching the people at every corner of the world, awakening them, transforming their lives, empowering people with the Hindu principles, with the teachings from Hinduism, that Swamiji became such a danger for all of these deep state elements, these deep state vested interests.
And this is the truth that unfortunately the media, the deep state elements, they don't want us to know. We are being continuously fed lies. We are being fed into institutions where we're continuously demoralized, dehumanized, even, and not even understanding that.
That colonial mindset, that colonial effect, that after effect is still alive, unfortunately, in many Hindus. And that is what is continuously allowing us to fall and to collapse and to continuously be disempowered despite the constant efforts of Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and other Hindu institutions to awaken humanity, to really empower people with the principles of Hinduism.
If you are watching this today, I invite each and every one of you to see for yourself the amount of work the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has been doing for Sanatana Hindu Dharma and for humanity, to awaken each and every one of us. Just by making us understand, by awakening us to these core principles of Hinduism, Swamiji has saved us from being literally washed away into so many lies, so much of poison that the mainstream media is feeding to us. I invite each and every one of you to just take a look at one video, one sacred truth of Swamiji, where Swamiji is instilling the deeper truths about whether it comes to your food, your relationships, your medicine, every single aspect of life. Just as Sanatana Hindu Dharma has literally uncovered, has given the best of the universe to each and every one of us, Swamiji has brought that essence and revived it for each and every one of us. And yet continuously attacks are going on, targeted attacks are going on against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism in order to ultimately to stop this awakening from happening. It is a conspiracy, not against big institutions, but against you, against all of us, that we have to awaken ourselves to.
This time that we wake up.
Yes, just want to add one point here to what you're saying, Ma Purnapriya and Ma Sadashivapriya. See, the British fragmented the Hindu civilization. They conquered Bharat by dividing Hindus, by dividing the Sampradayas, and by destroying, eliminating the various Sampradayas of Hinduism. There used to be more than 10,000 Hindu Sampradayas or traditions, right? And they were all living in harmony. But today, just a few is remaining. But the extraordinary work that Swamiji is doing is literally, he's reviving all these Sampradayas and uniting all of the Sampradayas. So that the anti-Hindu forces are not able to tolerate. He's bringing all the, first of all, he founded KAILASA. He revived KAILASA, the only Hindu nation. And now he's uniting all the indigenous Hindu Sampradayas, not just the indigenous Sampradayas, kingdoms, nations within Bharat, but globally. all of the indigenous Hindu nations and kingdoms. Swamiji is reviving and uniting all of them. So the extraordinary work that Swamiji is doing is not that anti-Hindu forces are not able to tolerate. And despite so much of attack, persecution, systematic persecution, relentless attack on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, over 120 forced legal cases, lawfare on him, over 100 attempts to assassinate Swamiji, nobody has been able to shake the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. So it is really high time that Hindus come under unite and become empower each other and become unite under the same as one, so that we can stand strong against the anti-Hindu forces that are working against Sanatana Hindu Dharma. And also one thing is standing for Sanatana Hindu Dharma. It is standing for global peace, because only Hinduism has the science for global peace. Only Hinduism has the solution for global peace. Even if we just look at the Sanskrit verse, Vasudevam Kutumbakam, the entire world is our family, is one family. That is only in Hinduism. So Swamiji is reviving Hinduism to its fullest glory with all the powers of Paramashivam, all the authentic cultures, the philosophies of Hinduism, and sharing it with the entire world.
And yes, and exactly as Ma Vijaypriya was sharing, it is only the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism who is uniting Hindus today and who is standing for Hinduism, the principles of Hinduism, and bringing together once again the 10,000 Sampradayas that once existed. And I invite each and every one of you to ask yourself this question: are you going to continue to be silent, allow this persecution against your Hindu gurus, your Hindu institutions, which have been alive for thousands and thousands of years?
Keeping this sacred indigenous knowledge, indigenous traditional knowledge of Sanatana Hindu Dharma alive. It is the Guru Parampara that has been safeguarding it for thousands of years. And these places, Hindu institutions like Dharmasthala, which are keeping it alive. We must stand for protecting our ancient heritage and protecting our Hindu gurus.
It is our responsibility as Hindus to fight, to stand up, just to voice our support, our solidarity with our Hindu gurus, with our Hindu institutions. Don't allow these deep state elements, these anti-Hindu elements, to infiltrate and decimate our sacred institutions, our Hindu gurus who have awakened us to the true principles of Hinduism, to the depth of Hinduism, to the depth of ourselves, the ultimate reality of life. It is only because of Hindu gurus and Hindu institutions that this has been kept alive and available for each and every one of us. The best thing that we have in our lives, our Hindu truths, our Hindu principles, our Hindu gurus. So it is up to us to stand for them, to continue to voice out, to not allow this ongoing, continuous, atrocious persecution. I invite each and every one of you to leave a comment below, to stand up and voice out on each of your social media platforms and everywhere against this ongoing brutal persecution against Hindus.
I'd like to thank all of the panelists who've joined us tonight for voicing out, for giving your perspective, and each and every one of your valuable opinions, your knowledge in contributing to this panel. We have learned a lot and understood today about how persecution works, about the fundamental questions that we need to ask ourselves. And as we are seeing Hinduism undergoing attack after attack,
we have to ask ourselves, how long will we let this go on? With this, I leave this question for each and every one of you viewers out there to contemplate. And I want to offer my humble gratitude to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who has kept the Hindu principles, the Hindu Dharma alive for each and every one of us to enjoy today through KAILASA, the only Hindu nation across the globe. And with this, we will conclude with the Purna Mantra.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sarvam Bhagavat Shri Nithyananda Paramashiva Padukarpan